What's up, everybody? Are you overwhelmed by the never-ending supply of depressing bad news? Well, let's refuel our tanks with 7 recent positive stories. This is the Giddy News for October 1st, 2018. Bethesda helps 12-year-old boy with rare cancer fulfill his wish of playing Fallout 76, is the Giddy News headline courtesy of Wesley Yin Poole of Eurogamer. So Wes from Virginia has battled stage 4 neuroblastoma for half his life after being diagnosed at just 5 years of age. After doctors told his family that they thought it best to stop his treatment, the child realized he probably wouldn't get to play Fallout 76, due out in November. Bethesda Game Studios, which opens its doors to terminally ill children who wish to see their favorite games that are made, they usually have kids travel to them, but in Wes's case he was too ill to travel, so the studio traveled to Wes. Matt Grandstaff, assistant director at Bethesda, drove 4 hours from the company's headquarters to the family home with not just a copy of the game, but a prototype of the Power Armor helmet that's due to come with the Power Armor edition of the game. And Wes has a GoFundMe page where his parents are raising money to pay for living expenses and the costs associated with travel, and I'll include a link to that in the description below. Man paralyzed from waist down makes history by walking again using mind-controlled implant to power his legs, is the Giddy News headline courtesy of Adam Forrest and The Independent. A 29-year-old man who was paralyzed from the waist down after an accident made medical history by walking independently after this pioneering surgery. Doctors in Minnesota implanted a remote-controlled electrode in his back to stimulate surviving nerves in his spinal cord. Jared Chinnock was able to stand up and walk for just over 100 meters while pushing a front-wheeled walker. It was the first time that he had walked by himself since his accident 5 years ago. And neurosurgeon Dr. Kendall Lee, who co-led the team from the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, stated that the reason why this is important is because the patient's own mind, thought, was able to drive the movement in his legs. Teenager is on track to plant 1 trillion trees, is the alliterative Giddy News headline courtesy of Laura Parker and National Geographic. So Felix Finkbeiner, who is now 19 years old, and Plant for the Planet, the environmental group he founded along with UN's Billion Tree Campaign, has planted more than 14 billion trees in more than 130 nations. The group has also pushed the planting goal upward to 1 trillion trees. Plant for the Planet now has an army of 55,000 climate justice ambassadors who have trained in one-day workshops to become climate activists in their home communities, and most of them are between the ages of 9 and 12. And here's a quote from Felix: "If you let a monkey choose if he wants 1 banana now or 6 bananas later, the monkey will always choose the 1 banana now. From this, we children understood we cannot trust that adults alone will save our future. To do that, we have to take our future in our hands." Seattle judges throw out 15 years of marijuana convictions, is the Giddy News headline courtesy of the BBC, and a link to the source will be included in the description below. Judges in Seattle have decided to quash convictions for marijuana possession for anyone prosecuted in the city between 1996 and 2010. Possession of marijuana became legal in the state of Washington in 2012, and it has been legal for medicinal use since 1998. City Attorney Pete Holmes asked the court to take the step to right the injustices of a drug war that has primarily targeted people of color. And Mayor Jenny Durkin is quoted as saying, "For too many who call Seattle home, a misdemeanor marijuana conviction or charge has created barriers to opportunity, barriers to good jobs, housing, loans, and education." Indonesian teenager survives 49 days adrift at sea in fishing hut, is the Giddy News headline courtesy of Kate Lamb and The Guardian, and a link to the source will be included in the description below. 19-year-old Aldi Novel Adelang worked as a lamp keeper on a floating fish trap known locally as Rompong, located 125 kilometers out at sea. But in mid-July, heavy winds snapped its moorings and sent Aldi adrift into the ocean. The teenager only had a few days' worth of supplies, and he survived by catching fish, burning wood from his hut to cook them, and sipping seawater through his clothes to minimize his salt intake. 10 ships sailed past the Indonesian teenager before a Panamanian-flagged vessel, the MV Arpeggio, finally picked him up in the waters off of Guam on August 31st. He flew home on September 8th and is now in good health. New Tokyo cafe to be staffed by robot waiters, controlled remotely by the disabled, is the Giddy News headline courtesy of the South China Morning Post, and a link to the source will be included in the description below. The new cafe will deploy Orihime-D robots controlled by disabled people with conditions such as lateral sclerosis, which is a form of motor neuron disease. The robot waiters, which are 1.2 meters tall and weigh 20 kilograms, will send video and audio via the internet and allow their controllers to direct them from home on their tablets or computers. Kentaro Yoshifuji, who is Chief Executive Officer of Ori Lab, the developers of the robot, quoted as saying, "I wanted to create a world in which people who can't move their bodies can work as well. And these robots can also be used remotely in classrooms by students who cannot attend school due to illness or other reasons." Nepal doubles its tiger population, raising hope for a global recovery of endangered big cats, is the Giddy News headline courtesy of Josh Gabatis of The Independent, and a link to the source will be included in the description below. So officials have announced that Nepal now has an estimated 235 wild tigers, which is almost double from 2009, 9 years ago, when it had 121 wild tigers. And here's a quote from Bishwa Nath Ali, Secretary of the Ministry of Forests and Environment in Nepal. "Protecting tigers is a top priority of the government, and we are thankful for the able support of our partners, enforcement agencies, local communities, and the international community for a common purpose." Conservationists hope that the effective policing of national parks and anti-poaching in Nepal will set an example to other nations. All right, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the Giddy News, and if you have a story you'd like for me to share, please include it in the comments below. And until next time, thanks for watching.